After 5 long years of the release of Capcom's most successful title in the company's history, the first entry of the 6th generation of the Monster Hunter franchise has been finally announced in all its glory: Monster Hunter Wilds. With the overwhelmingly positive response to the 5th gen's first game, here we are once again witnessing the next evolution of this once obscure but now very much beloved series. Despite being a somewhat short teaser, this trailer already has a lot of information revealed to us, some of which may be a lot more impactful to our experience than we might be expecting. So without further ado, let's start by dissecting and analyzing all the available info showcased in this video. The trailer begins with a display of an arid landscape filled with numerous forms of wildlife calmly roaming around a deserted field. Right off the bat, we can already detect the presence of 4 brand new creatures. A bipedal small monster with a similar build to World's Gastodon, with a head shape more akin to a bison of sorts, a large pangolin-like creature, yes, this animal is real and it's adorable, which also has 2 separate variants, a light-colored plated female as well as a dark-toned spiked male. A Consubnatus-style lizard being a lot smaller than all the other plant eaters, and lastly, perhaps the only animal that it's not categorized as a small monster present on this teaser, a big-headed bird which you can see in more detail here. Note that these birds not only can land on the mega pangolins over here, but they also perform specific activities on top of them, like hunting for example, a beautiful level of detail that usually helps with a sense of immersion. Here's a better shot of the Gastodons like monsters as well as the small compies, with the introduction of a 5th new animal to the game's roster, a small flying reptile. Shortly after, the scene changes, focusing on the not so distant weather, which it seems that will play a bigger role gameplay wise, but we will talk about that in just a second. And here we have the first appearance of a good old hunter, riding yet another never seen small monster. But this one is special. Throughout the trailer we can observe that this particular animal is capable of performing numerous forms of movement: bipedal running, quadruped running, climbing and even gliding, showing that this mount in particular has much superior maneuverability than Palamutes from Monster Hunter Rise-Break, an aspect that can be very important when it comes to the rest of the game, but we will discuss that later in the video. As the trailer continues, it is revealed to us that our current protagonist is being pursued by not 1, not 2, not 3, but 7 large monsters, confirming that we will encounter actual packs of the usual big boys we are so used to hunt. Immediately after, the camera switches to the chat pangolins in front of the hunter. Here there are 2 interesting facts worth noting. 1. Our wannabe Great Macaw displays an impressive level of maneuverability by traversing through the herd with ease during a stampede, mind you, truly showing that this mount has a massive level of flexibility when it comes to movement. And 2, right before the herd begins to panic, we can see that the males stand in 2 legs and emit some sort of warning call. This shows that herds can dynamically react to the events around them, being either the hunter, the predator pack, or the sandstorm approaching. Another interesting detail is weather and wildlife directly interact with each other. We can find that exact phenomenon happening when one of the herbivore males is struck by lightning, which is absorbed by one of its spikes. However, the shot is way too short to determine if that energy is stored and used in some other way, or if its function is simply be a living lightning rod. But what we can know for certain is that weather has now a direct and tangible effect in the world, going as far as having established relationships with its fauna, as well as being capable of interacting with the player themselves, as seen here. Next, there's the hunter's pet climbing a strange rock formation, showing once more that this small monster is a full-on all-terrain mount, but in this case the movement is not as fluid as on the ground, since it appears that you can only climb rocks that contain these unique blue crystals due to the fact that the animal jumps exclusively between them. So while traversal is a lot more elaborate than its canine predecessor, they cannot roam completely free on any surface. In the background we have a tall pillar being hit by lightning as well, probably implying that areas where these structures are not present will be more dangerous to players, at least when it comes to storms there is. What's more important though is the return of both Scoutflies and Hunter Slinger. The latter in particular was a rather controversial mechanic in World, so hopefully this is a new and improved iteration of it, but nevertheless we have the confirmation that two of the most iconic systems of the 5th generation's main title is making a comeback. And lastly, the storm quickly dissipates, revealing the massive scorched land ahead of us, finally showing at the very end a familiar face to the Monster Hunter community, the most famous monster of the entire franchise, Rathalos. Now, there are some points that I believe are also important to highlight. By checking the game's lighting, since it's clearly an in-game trailer, as well as its graphical fidelity, we can confidently prove that Monster Hunter Wilds is being made in Re-Engine, the same engine used for Risebreak, not MT Framework, the engine used in Worldborn and Generations Ultimate. Oh yeah, these two games, same engine. Fascinating, isn't it? While this is a noticeable visual downgrade in comparison to World, it is understandable the reason behind it. Worldborn was never well known for being very performance friendly, let's be honest, and with all these animals on screen, possibly even more in case the Wilds ends up being actually open world, plus all the visual effects from the weather, I highly doubted that this would be feasible if this was being made in MT Framework's engine. Capcom most likely sacrificed better visuals for a larger scale game, which in my eyes, that's a trade-off I would take every day of the week. And speaking of scale, Wilds is evidently pushing towards a larger scale game overall. Ever since the very beginning that Monster Hunter always tried to implement an open world environment to their games. They tried in Monster Hunter 1, they tried in Monster Hunter 4, they tried in Monster Hunter World, but they never really managed to do it successfully, and perhaps that was due to limited technology. A limitation that, from this teaser at least, may have been overcome by the dev team. The map is much more vast, the wildlife is a lot more numerous, both small and large, the presence of a highly mobile mount, potentially functional cargo, and... do you see this? Do you know what this is? This is a light bowgun. An iron assault bowgun to be precise. This is the first time we are able to carry two weapons at the same time. And this is important, because in the 5th generation we could go back to the camp at any time and freely change our gear. Having the ability to possess two weapons simultaneously implies that we will be a lot more limited on resources in the wild in comparison to previous games. We must keep our expectations realistic, but there's a strong possibility that Wilds will be the first true open world Monster Hunter game. Perhaps not completely open world, but according to this footage, at the very least, this new upcoming title will add several open world elements, taking the franchise just one step closer to their ultimate vision. Thank you so much for watching. A huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for supporting the channel and the content I create. If you wanna join the ranks, you can do so for only $1 a month, the link will be in the description. Make sure to subscribe for more Monster Hunter content, don't forget to leave your thoughts and opinions down below, join our Discord server, engage with the community, and I hope to see you all next week.